What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Saturdays in the SEC, episode 153. Back to do a full week two recap of college football. Great weekend in the SEC, except for our friends in Gainesville. Other than that, it was pretty much a clean sweep in the SEC this weekend. Had a lot of great matchups. The nightcap was absolutely loaded. Um, Obviously, the big shocker in Gainesville, with USF coming into town and knocking off Florida. I guess we'll go ahead and start there. To me, obviously, that was one we talked about last week. That I wouldn't be shocked if USF came in and played them tough. They did that and then some. I'll be honest, I wasn't bold enough to call an upset. I didn't think Florida would lose this game, but when I saw the line at 18, I thought that was way too rich, honestly. And man, they came in, fought their tails off, and I'll say this: if anybody's gonna respect USF, it's me, because Alabama's played them the last 2 years. I've seen how tough they are, how well they play against Power Four competition, and man, for them to come in and pull that shocker was impressive. And what was crazy about it too is USF didn't even play their A game, and that's what's so frustrating on the Florida end. It's a bad loss considering what Florida has coming up on their schedule. I mean, an absolute gauntlet the next 4 weeks and beyond. But for USF to come into your house and really not even play anywhere close to their A game, I don't think. I would say it was a C effort maybe from USF, B minus. It wasn't the cleanest game. You held them to 18 and they still came in and left with a win. That's just got to be so frustrating, just so disheartening for Florida fans. But what was your thought from this game and obviously USF coming in and pulling off the upset of the weekend?
Yeah, very, very entertaining game. Obviously, Florida had their opportunities early to really pull away from this game. I mean, the first drive alone, they had what I would call a drop touchdown pass. After the ball should have been caught, but you maybe could say he overthrew it a little bit. But then a few plays later, they have a touchdown, get called back from penalties, and then they get another touchdown, get called back from another penalty, all in the same drive early, and then they had to settle for three. So you give a team like South Florida, you let them hang around and you give them a little momentum, they're going to take it, and that's what's going to let them win the ball game. Not necessarily that they just outplayed you, but you're giving them the momentum and you're letting them hang around and you're giving them that little taste of, okay, we can do it, we can do it. So that's what I thought, was happening. It's not necessarily that Florida just flat out did not have anything working. They just were missing their opportunities. They were there in front of them. They just couldn't capitalize on them. I thought Lagway was pretty inconsistent. I think there were sometimes he made some good throws, but majority of it he was, throwing, underthrowing guys, overthrowing guys, made some pretty bad decisions at times. I was not pleased with the offensive play. I thought that the offensive line was getting whipped pretty much all game. I felt like they were getting pushed back consistently. South Florida was able to disrupt the backfield pretty much the entirety of the game. I mean, second half for sure, but for the most part, the entirety of the game, USF's defensive line was getting after Florida. There was a point going, I believe it was in the third quarter, third and three with 6:40 to go in the fourth, actually. Number 40 from USF is third and three now. Florida gets the first down here. Pretty much they had the way to control it to go down and run the clock out and at least put some points on the board and allow USF like maybe a minute or two to try and drive the field and score. Third and three, and number 40, the defensive line from South Florida, goes in the backfield. I mean, completely untouched. Makes a tackle in the backfield, stalls out their drive, gives them some more momentum on their for their offensive drive. I just thought there was some not necessarily lackluster, that the guys looked like they were trying, they were giving effort. It was just they were just getting whipped flat out, especially up front. They were back on their heels. The defensive line for USF came to play. They were flying to the football. But I couldn't believe how consistently USF was able to be in the backfield and disrupt the backfield with Lagway.
Yeah, I mean, couple of the big stats for me is a lot of it too was just you look at from a numbers perspective, total yardage. USF had an edge, but not huge. I think it's 390 to 320. Let's say 391 to 324. So Florida had 3 drives stall inside the 25-yard line. They had to consistently settle for field goals in this game. Could never break through and punch it in the end zone near as often as they needed to. And then they had 11 penalties for over 100 yards. And, a game like this was killer. But, yeah, inability to finish drives. Like you said, pretty consistent pressure in the backfield. Sloppy with penalties. It was a classic look-ahead spot. You talk about those all the time. Almost every team has one or two throughout the season, just the way the schedule falls. And you could just see this being an opportunity where Florida, we've got LSU coming up. We're at Miami, Texas A&M. Like, what? I mean, this is. They only have one gimme game on the entire schedule, really, and that was Long Island in week 1. But yeah, this was a team where you go, oh, we're playing South Florida, it's at home, but like this is South Florida honestly has a great chance to be the Group of 5 representative and be in the playoff. Like, I mean, they're the front runner to grab that spot at the moment. So it's like it's not a bad loss necessarily, but it's just when USF, it's not like they came in and just lit the world on fire. You know what I mean? Or they played their best, their A-plus game. Like, they really didn't. And obviously Florida didn't either, but that's just, it makes it that much more disheartening when you see what you have ahead and then a game that you have to win at home. Like, if you want to compete for the playoff and get to where you want to go this year, you can't lose this one at home. Like, and that's no disrespect to USF, but it's just the fact of the matter with their schedule and where they're at. So, obviously super disappointing for Florida. It makes you question kind of where they're going to be at here in 6-7 weeks when we get into late October and November. Like, where are they going to be at in their season? Wouldn't be shocked if they bounce back though. Like, they're going to be in these games coming up. Like, they're not a bad team. I think that's the way the SEC is going to be this year. Like, there's not going to be any freebies. Like, even when you think you've got somebody, you probably don't. Like, you're going to have to fight tooth and nail to get that win. And I expect them to go in much better focused, much better prepared this week at LSU, and I think they'll be ready to put up a good fight.
The disheartening thing to see, especially as a Florida fan, is like you said, that South Florida didn't just come in and just shock the world and dominate all day. You had a bad snap go over your punter's head that gave them a safety. And then on the final drive of the game, where they drive down to kick the field goal, you got a defensive lineman spitting in the guy's face and giving him a free 15. Like, just the bonehead mistakes, just the stuff that you can control and you're not executing. I mean, the long snapper, that wasn't even close to being a decent snap. You got to execute. It's just the little things. But if there's one thing that I know about Napier, and I've seen him, and he's done it, especially last year, he's proven it, the outside noise is not going to affect the guys in the building. Like you said, it's not a horrible loss. This team's probably going to be the Group of 5 representative in the playoff. So it doesn't. The season's still in front of them. They haven't played a conference game yet. They're going to be okay. And like you said, there's one thing we know about Napier. He's going to have this team right. They're going to get better week in and week out. This team is going to get better and better and better. They're not going to be the same team in week 12 as they were in this past week, in week 2. So I'm not worried about Florida. I'm a little concern has gone up, but I'm not ready to fire Napier and say that this season's gone, burn the boats, whatever. I'm not saying any of that. I think that Napier is going to have his guys ready to go. They're going to consistently get better and better and better. And if the noise from last season didn't affect the guys inside that building, I don't think the noise this season is going to affect the guys inside the building.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, obviously it puts a big dent on, like, playoff chances, things like that. Like, I think that's probably not going to happen now. Like, I think there was a chance of that happening. I just probably hard-pressed to see that happening at this point, just with the schedule and what they have in front of them. But I'm like you. I'm not expecting them to it to go off the rails or anything like that. I mean, that Miami loss week 1 last year, even though Miami ended up being a good team, but it's like, man, that was about as ugly as it gets. So I think they'll rally the troops. I think they'll be okay. But like you said, some of the undisciplined things, some of the procedural things, it's like you kind of thought you were past some of that now in year 3 with Billy Napier. So to see some of those things, I guess, still lingering a little bit is definitely disheartening. But I'm like you. I think he's going to be able to keep those guys focused, and they're going to be in these games. They're going to be fighting, and like I said, I wouldn't be shocked at all if they don't go put a great effort and have a chance to win at LSU this Saturday. Not much is going to shock us, I don't think, in this SEC season for sure. I did want to go up to Lexington now, talk about Ole Miss at Kentucky. Man, these two teams, they're just going to play close games with each other. It doesn't matter the circumstances, home, if it's in Oxford, in Lexington. These two, when Mark Stoops and Lane Kiffin get together, it's going to be a one-score game. I think that's that's been proven. Their last 4 matchups since Lane's been in the SEC have been one-score games. Terrible bad beat for us with the backdoor cover with Kentucky in literally the closing seconds of the game. So that was tough, but all in all, really good football game. Obviously, Austin Simmons started off shaky in the beginning, had a couple early picks, kind of got Ole Miss in a hole, but I thought they settled down. I thought he settled down in particular. They got him some easier throws, kind of got him in rhythm a little bit. And I thought the Ole Miss defense did a fantastic job of kind of calming things and allowing them to get back in the game and be comfortable. Kentucky was just never in much of a rhythm for a large majority of this game. Zach Calzada made some plays, but like I said, there just wasn't much of a rhythm to Kentucky's offense. And it was just very choppy feeling. Like I said, they jumped out early, aided by a couple turnovers, but I like how Ole Miss was able to settle down, get back on track, and ultimately get a big road win. Like I said, I know I had them. That line was around 8.5. I think you had them at 10. Really ended up about what the line was, but kind of a typical, Mark Stoops Kentucky perform. Muddy the waters, get a couple turnovers. They're gonna play hard defensively. They're gonna give themselves a chance to win. Just ultimately didn't do quite enough offensively, but all in all, a good football game. And for Ole Miss, a much-needed win to go get that in the SEC opener. If they want to contend at the top of the SEC, that's one you got to go have. But just further proof that nothing's going to be easy, especially in this year in particular.
Absolutely, and kind of like we were saying for Florida with Ole Miss, even though Ole Miss won, they hurt themselves, man. Really, Kentucky never really just straight up dominated or stopped them. Ole Miss just had self-inflicted wounds. You had 2 interceptions early when you were driving the football. I mean, you look at Kentucky. Kentucky's got 0 pass game at all this season. I have not seen any proof of a pass game with a heartbeat from Kentucky yet. We knew they were going to be physical. We know they're going to stick to running the football, but you got to have some type of pass game. They're so one-dimensional in the worst way. I don't know who the answer is because Zach Calzada definitely isn't. I'm so surprised that they weren't able to go get somebody else out of the portal other than him. But I don't think offensively they're going to be able to win many ball games or compete in many ball games if they can't figure something out in the passing game. We know they're going to run the football, but they've got to be able to throw it a little bit. And that was the most shocking thing to me is that they just couldn't do anything offensively. They looked like they were confused. Like you said, they couldn't ever get in sync, couldn't get a roll going or anything. They just did not look. It looked like they were out there for the first day of spring practice is what it looked like to me offensively. Am I a little off base there? Is that what it seemed like to you? I mean, I may be seeing it in a wrong way, but their offense just looked like they were, for real, had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. For a large majority of the game, it definitely felt that way. And like you said, got a couple good backs. Like they always, have good tailbacks. They have a good running game. They're gonna try to be physical up front. That's their identity. But yeah, and obviously, losing a couple big pass catchers in the portal, Barron Brown, Dane Key, not helping things. But I agree with you. I would have thought, they missed on the quarterback last year. And then Zach Calzada obviously has been around the block and played good football at times, but you just would think, Kentucky always has a solid defense. They usually have good backs. They've had good skill players here in the past, so you would think it would be a destination that a pretty good a big time quarterback would want to come be a part of, but they haven't quite hit on that position, and that they've got to hit on it because they've been going into the portal to do it. It just didn't really work with Brock Vandegrift last year. Winsett played at times. You had Cutter Bowie, who played a little bit in this game too. And now with Calzada, they just haven't been able to hit on that quarterback position the last couple years the way they need to, because they do have some pieces elsewhere, but if they're not going to be able to generate much offensively, if they're going to be pretty one-dimensional, then, yeah, I'm like you. It's going to be a struggle to win games in this conference this year. But, really what they did Saturday, if they're going to win games, it's going to be like that. It's going to be muddy in the waters. It's going to have to be that defense forcing multiple turnovers and setting their offense up with golden opportunities, because I just don't see them driving up and down the field too often this year. But, what you would expect of an early season game, but like I said, from an Ole Miss perspective, this is a team that's giving you fits. That's been a close matchup every time. So to kind of rebound from some early troubles, some early turnovers, and to go get that win, it was critically important for Ole Miss.
Absolutely. I want to get your thoughts on the border war, though. We talked about the border war going into the season.
Yeah.
We were really excited. I think first time in 14 years that we're getting to see this game. First time since Missouri left and came to SEC. This is the first time this has been played since then, I believe. What was your thoughts on it? I thought it was a very, very entertaining game.
Yeah, I think it was right up there with one of the probably the more entertaining games of the weekend. I mean, you had quarterbacks laying on the line, Jalen Daniels, Bo Perbua. I mean, guys diving for first downs. I mean, it was entertaining. There was a good bit of sloppiness, though. It had multiple turnovers. Ball was getting punched out. Had a couple of strip sacks. So, I mean, but it was a super entertaining game. You could definitely feel the intensity in the stadium. Like, that was obviously you could just feel that big game feel. The fans just a little extra edge. And that hatred for Kansas. So I thought Bo Perbua played outstanding for the most part. I mean, his mobility got him out of the pocket, making plays, hit some passes down the field. Just always really accurate. Just really like what he brings to this offense. And heard a lot about him. Didn't play a ton at Penn State, but a guy that was a veteran who had learned the system, who had been around college football for a while. Knew he had that kind of ability, but now we're finally seeing it showcased. And man, it was a fantastic game though, and hats off to Kansas. Man, they played their tails off as well. I mean, Jalen Daniels again, he was really impressive on Kansas side. Like I said, both teams competing super hard, but yeah, I mean, it was cool to see Missouri get it, and cool to see this game back. Like I said, meant a lot to the fans. Meant a lot in our comment boxes over the last couple of weeks from both sides. So that was really cool to see. And it was cool to see how much it meant to both these teams to play it again. Yeah, man, I love a good border.
Yeah, this was, like I said, super entertaining game. Kansas jumped on them quick, and I thought, this might get out of hand for Missouri. I might have been a little too high on him, but then Drinkwitz does his old Drinkwitz things and figures out how to get back in the ball game and finds a way to win. I thought that was the most impressive thing I saw. We saw Missouri get their back against the wall, but they found a way to get it done. Had a touchdown drive to bring it within one possession, and then pretty much from then on it was all Missouri. Their defense made some big stops, had some big sacks with some sacks for losses, had a turnover. So I thought that Missouri played extremely well on defense in the second half for sure, forcing things on Kansas and forcing them to try to make big plays, and then obviously being able to stop them. But I thought that after when they cut it from 21-6 to 21-13 or whatever the score was at that time, from that moment on, it was Missouri dominated the rest of the game.
Yeah, they got the safety, and then they ended up scoring before they ended up going in the locker room 21-all.
Really I guess big that stat. May have been the turnover, the safety. It probably wasn't an actual turnover; it was a safety.
Yeah, and but really big stat for me, rushing yardage wise. I mean, Missouri absolutely dominated, 261-31 on the ground. So yeah, like I said, Bo Pereira played great, but there was great balance with the running backs. They broke off several big, the one to ice it, I believe, a 56-yard run to ice the game. They had a big touchdown run earlier in the game as well. So they dominated time of possession. They dominated on the ground. Like I said, holding Kansas to 31 yards rushing. And that's what impressed me with Jalen Daniels is he didn't have any help with his run game. And to give them a chance in that game late in the second half, the way he battled, man, it was super impressive. Yeah, I thought, like you said, both teams just competed extremely hard. And, yeah, I left away with some really good impressions in Missouri. Obviously you give up 31, you want to be able to tighten things up a little bit more, but they were disruptive a lot. They dominated the line of scrimmage, rushing-wise especially, and dominated time of possession, and thought it was a huge win for Missouri getting to 2-0.
100%. I want to get your thoughts on Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, our team of the week, and pretty much for everybody's going to be Mississippi State, but, man, Vandy's got a hell of a case to be there as well. To go down 17-7 in this game, fight back and win 44-20, not even close, at the end of the ball game was, man, super impressive. Diego Pavia played extremely well in this game. Just really like what I saw from Vanderbilt, man. There's a lot of talk, can they replicate last year's season? Can they be even better, man? I mean, early returns are looking really strong. I am super, super curious for this game this weekend at South Carolina. These teams obviously have played a similar opponent in Virginia Tech. So, obviously Vandy ended up pouring it on late. It was a little closer with South Carolina, so I'm just really curious. It's hard to compare opponents and scores. Like, you can't really get into that game because it's totally different matchups a lot of times. But I think, Vandy, the way they're playing, the confidence they're playing with, man, I think they're going to have a chance against just about anybody. Like, they've got swagger, they've got confidence, and man, Carton Lee and that group, they've done a hell of a job, and that was a huge win to go into Virginia Tech. Sandman's blaring at the beginning of the game, and to come in to a really good environment and handle it and dominate in the second half the way they did was crazy impressive.
Yeah, I think, we pretty much, this game's played out about how we expected. Maybe not early, maybe not Virginia Tech jumping out, but we both were pretty high on Vanderbilt, thinking they were going to go in there and handle business. Like you said, you got a pretty veteran team out there in Vanderbilt. Clark Lee, this is not your father's Vanderbilt football team. This is the new age Vanderbilt football team. So I was very pleased with what I saw. Very entertaining game. But yes, like you just mentioned, you just talked about them. We'll go into them. Arizona State comes down to take on the Bulldogs with the cowbells blowing, and they practiced with the cowbells, but I'm not sure they had enough cowbells out there at their Arizona State practice. If y'all saw that clip last week, I just don't think that was quite enough. However, they go in. Arizona State looks sloppy early. Mississippi State takes advantage of it, and then we're able to hold them off to the final drive and made a really, really big play. What was your thoughts on that game from Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a fan base in the country and in the SEC that deserved one, I think, like this Mississippi State fan base deserved it. I mean, that was a fantastic environment, a signature win for Jeff Lebby in year two, a program that you knew was improved this year. Man, it's exciting to see a healthy Blake Shapen and the difference that it makes for this team. Man, I thought he was extremely decisive. running this offense, man. You just see such a difference from year one to year two. But, man, on the line of scrimmage is where I see the biggest difference. Defensive line being disruptive, offensive line able to execute. They're able to execute the things they want to run this year. It actually looks like Jeff Lebby wants it to look. Not saying they're a finished product or anything, but, man, it's looking a lot more like what Jeff Lebby wants it to look like, kind of built in his image. And Blake Shapen healthy and being productive is obviously the main key for that. Now the upgrades on both line of scrimmage shined in a big way, but it was cool seeing a big environment in Davis Wade Stadium again. Cowbells rocking, as you highlighted with Arizona State. They were about 60,000 cowbells short in their practice to replicate it. So yeah, that was they weren't quite prepared from practice to what they experienced on Saturday night. But no, that was awesome to see, man. And I think this Mississippi State team's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Hitting the explosive pass plays to me was the biggest difference in the game.
Yes. Which is what Levy's known for. That's Levy's bread and butter.
Yeah, I mean, you had obviously highlighted by the game-winning touchdown throw of about 60 yards or so, but they had 3 touchdown passes over 40 yards or more. So creating explosive plays, like I said, being more physical on both lines of scrimmages was big. And, man, it was cool to see. And it just shows you how top to bottom, how deep this league is top to bottom. I mean, this was a team that was projected to be pretty much dead last, either next to last or dead last in the SEC. I mean, this is an Arizona State team. You never know from year to year, but this was the defending Big 12 champion in the playoff a year ago and returned a majority of their pieces outside of, Cam Scadaboo was one of the main pieces they lost, but they returned a majority of their roster. So for Mississippi State, man, it's a signature win for Jeff Lebby, and couldn't be happier for those guys.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, those fans, you saw them on the field immediately after the ball game ended. They ripping down the goalpost. They're thrilled. That's what I like to see, because Mississippi State last year, they were in some games, but then they just couldn't quite keep up and couldn't quite finish. They tried to find a way to give this one away, but they were able to finish the ball game this week, and that was exciting to see and encouraging to see as a Mississippi State, Bulldog. You want to see your team get better week in, week out. But when you're in those games and you have those opportunities to be able to close it and finish it, that's just so encouraging to see, because it's been a couple years since we've seen a Mississippi State football team be able to do that, especially against a high caliber ball team. So I thought that, this was up there with the kick six and the tip pass for Auburn fans, but for Mississippi State fans, this was one of those type of ball games.
Yeah, and I know they want to be more balanced offensively. I mean, they got outrushed pretty heavily by Arizona State. On the flip side, they obviously outpassed them by a whole lot. It was a rough night for Sam Leavitt for Arizona State. So I know Mississippi State wants to be a little more balanced offensively, obviously, and they jumped out 17-0 and really stalled for a good portion of the game from really midway second quarter till that last drive when they hit the touchdown pass to Brennan Thompson. They didn't score for a large majority of the game, and they were stalled out. Like I said, the run game wasn't able to really get going like they want. So definitely things to keep building on and improving upon. But like you said, getting that opportunity late in the game and then being able to capitalize is such a huge confident boost for this team, this program, the coaching staff as a whole. So, yeah, just super excited for them. It was really cool to see them get this win, see the excitement back in Starkville, and like you said, seeing the goalposts leaving the stadium. It was cool. And, looking to see kind of how the Bulldogs are able to build upon this.
All right. Now, the game of the week where game day was, the game I was looking forward to most on Saturday, Michigan travels to Norman, Oklahoma, freshman quarterback, but they were able to look fairly competitive on offense, better than I expected them to look with a freshman quarterback. Not that they dominated by any means, because outside of one play, they really were pretty much dominated. But the way that Bryce Underwood looked was what I liked. He didn't look like the moment was too big. Like he never looked like he was rattled or anything. Now he definitely made mistakes. There was some miscommunication. It was your stereotypical true freshman mistakes. Nothing crazy, but there was some miscommunication on a couple of plays with some receivers. Uh, missed some plays that were there. Had a busted coverage that a tight end was open downfield and kind of overthrew him. Had a couple overthrows on some deep balls, but just as a whole, he looked confident and he looked sure of himself, and it's not like the moment was too big for him. Now on the flip side, Oklahoma's defense was playing out of their minds. I'm talking about flying to the football from snap one to the final snap of the game. I mean, relentless. They were dominant. They were in the backfield, it seemed, just about every play. They were dominating Michigan's offensive line, which you don't hear about often. I mean, I went back and watched the game tonight before we started recording, and there were several clips that I watched. The one that sticks out the most was later in the game. I believe it was a third down, and Bryce Underwood got sacked. Both of those guys, both those defensive linemen that got in the backfield that sacked the quarterback, both of their offensive linemen's asses hit the ground and they rolled back on their back. I mean, they got absolutely bull rushed, and that wasn't the only time that happened. There were several different clips of Michigan's offensive linemen landing on their backsides because of the rush and the defense, the bull rush from the defensive line of Oklahoma. And then Oklahoma was scheming up really good blitzes to be able to get in the backfield, stop the run game with it a couple times, got on Underwood a couple times with it. But then they were able to they covered pretty well. There was not many busted coverages. There was a few, like I said, that Bryce Underwood didn't connect on. But for the most part, outside of one big play, outside of one big run play, Michigan's offense just couldn't get anything going. What I liked about the defense from Oklahoma, though, was they when their back was against the wall, they never folded. They never folded one time on Saturday. So they force a punt from Michigan. Then they run into the punter, so they get a free first down. And then they had a bogus penalty, a defensive holding penalty on third down. The very next third down from the punt where they ran to the kicker, had a defensive holding bogus call, and then were still able to hold up and force a field goal that was a missed field goal. So the defense answered every bit of adversity. They never folded to the adversity. That's what's going to win you games. Now, Mateer looked really good. He is legit. I was not 100% sure about him going into the season. He is legit. However, there were some things that there were some mistakes that he made that Michigan couldn't capitalize on. There was a ball he kind of underthrew, and he should have thrown it a little more into the field because there was nobody there. Defensive back batted it down and almost picked it off. There was another one he kind of threw a ball into traffic over the middle that could have been picked off. There was a dropped interception as well. So there were some things that he definitely needs to clean up. But for the most part, he was getting the ball out extremely quick, or he would take off extremely quick. He made really good decisions for the most part. Now, special teams kind of hurt him, running into the punter hurt him. They dropped a punt and gave Michigan the ball back, which the defense bowed up and was able to force another field goal. So, but the special teams hurt him. That's going to come around and be way more critical than it was in this game in the coming weeks. So they've got to clean that up. But there's still things to work on offensively. They looked good, but there's definitely things to work on. There's some mistakes that were made and some decisions that were made that are going to get them beat in the coming weeks. But all in all, this was a really good football game. I think that Oklahoma should be happy with where they're at, but they definitely got ways to go in the improvement side. But I want to hit a quick note, and I'll let you go. I know that Bryce Underwood, like I said, he didn't have a fantastic game, but he didn't look intimidated or anything. There was a play. I'm going to give you the timestamp of the game so you can go back and look at this. It was 8:15 to go in the third quarter. I believe it was the third quarter. Bryce Underwood absolutely bodied a DB on a read option. He hands it off, and the DB blitzes. He hands it off, and the DB goes to tackle him, and he just throws his shoulder in him, and just pummels the DB to the dirt. It's like it was like a little kid ran into their dad. It was hilarious. Now Oklahoma will still manage to get the stop. They didn't. It's not like Michigan had a huge gain on it, but I saw that when I was rewatching the game, and I was like, oh my God, that dude is huge. He likes to deliver the blows, but if you want to go back and watch it, I'm pretty positive it's the third quarter. 8:15 to go in the third quarter. And it may have been 8:15 to go in the fourth, but I'm pretty sure it was the third. Go watch that. I mean, Bryce Underwood absolutely bodies a DB.
Yeah, I really. First off, I'm definitely gonna go back and look at that. But to kind of go off of your thoughts, man, I thought you hit it really well. Obviously, wasn't a great game for Bryce Underwood, and honestly, I don't know. What you really could expect. I mean, with the circumstances coming in, obviously Michigan's a solid team, but they're a team that feels like they're a year away. They're some upgrades away offensively from being where they need to be at the receiver position, probably on the offensive line as well. But no, he definitely looks the part. There's no doubt. I mean, you look at him physically. I mean, you can just tell, like, man, it's going to take a little bit of time, but man, this kid's going to be outstanding. Yeah, tough game for sure. I mean, who isn't going to have a tough game going against a Brent Venables defense in Norman? Your first, start on the road as a true freshman quarterback with not really the weapons you need to win at a high, or to me to compete at a high level with probably the Oregons, the upper echelon of the SEC, the Ohio State. Like, not saying they can't beat those teams, but like, he doesn't have all the receivers he needs. He needs more on the offensive line. But I thought they competed extremely well, gave themselves a chance to win. Like I said, hit some things, miss some things, miss some throws, obviously. Did hit the big run play with Justice Haynes right after the start of the second half, which kind of got them back into it a little bit. But never really felt, to me, Oklahoma never really felt threatened, or I never felt threatened for them, honestly. Just felt like they were in command the entire 60 minutes. But no, Michigan came in their battle really well. Like, you can tell that this is a team that's going to have a chance. They're going to have a good season, I believe. I don't think they're there yet to compete with the top of the Big Ten, the top of the SEC, more than likely. Yeah, Mateer, like you said, definitely looked the part. Some things to clean up, like you highlighted really well. There's some things they did that better teams will be able to take advantage of. Like, there's teams coming up that are going to be able to take advantage of some of the mistakes they made if they, continue to happen. But John Mateer definitely looked the part, man. He was outstanding. I mean, he is so athletic. I mean, yeah, he definitely lived up to the hype. For me, we saw him some at Washington State, but we're an SEC podcast. Like, I mean, we weren't just grinding Washington State tape, but just from what
Washington State didn't play too many great teams last season either.
Yeah, because they're not in the same conference with the USCs, the Oregons, and you know what I mean. Like, they're not in the Big Ten with all those teams. So knew about him, like, knew he was good, but you just never know exactly how it's going to translate from that. Not saying a lower level, but lower level of competition coming into the SEC, and yeah, he definitely fits in, and he looks like he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC for sure. And I see 100% why he was a trendy Heisman pick in the preseason. I think he's going to be in those conversations all year long. And I think this Oklahoma team, like I said, if they continue to build on some of the things, correct some of the mistakes they made, I think they're going to be in the thick of it the rest of the way as well. But they're probably not quite as tough of a schedule as Florida, but it's up there with just about anybody in the country. It's going to be tough, but Oklahoma is going to be a tough out for anybody, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned the defense. I mean, Venables was throwing so much at this young quarterback. I remember one time early, I just remember this off the top of my head because Kirk Herbstreit was talking about it. He was showing man to start pre-snap. He was showing man, and then they snapped and they went to a zone defense. And Underwood saw man first, so he's like, okay, I'm throwing to that guy. I'm throwing a deep ball to that guy. He drops back, throws it in double coverage. It gets defended. Doesn't get intercepted or anything, but it was just like, what are you doing throwing that? And then Kirk explains, he's seeing this pre-snap, he's going to go here, and then they change it as they changed to his own defense once the ball snapped. So he was just throwing things that Underwood that he hasn't seen before. It was a lot of sophisticated defensive schemes that they were running, but obviously they didn't, but it seemed like they were blitzing every single play because somebody from Oklahoma was in the backfield. Somebody wearing that Oklahoma jersey was in the backfield every single play. Whether it be two linebackers, whether it be two defensive linemen, somebody was in the backfield every play. They absolutely were. Their hair was on fire. They were running around. Venable said it well. We're knocking paint off the helmets out here in his halftime interview. They asked him what he liked. He's like, the defense is running around knocking paint off helmets. I'm very pleased with how they're playing. That's exactly what you want your defense to be doing. If they're going to make a mistake, they're making a mistake going 110%. The one big play to Justice Haynes was like a 70-yard touchdown run. Linebacker just didn't fit his gap. That was it. He kind of cheated. He thought he was going to the right. Haynes cut it back. He kind of cheated to where he thought the ball carrier was going, just didn't fit his gap, and it was to the house. But other than that, it was a pretty much almost solid. They had a few busts, like I said, that weren't hit, and one of them was. But other than that, the defense for Venables, which is no shocker, was just dominant once again. I mean, even last year when Oklahoma wasn't great, their defense was really good. Their defense, you got Brent Venables, you're going to have a good defense. Even if you ain't got no Jimmys and Joes, them X's and O's from Venables are going to make those Jimmys and Joes a little better. But he's got the Jimmys and Joes down there in Norman right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're going to be able to do this to other quarterbacks as well. So, no, I thought, like you said, wasn't a great game from Bryce Underwood, but I think the situation he was in, like I said, I have no concerns about him going forward. I think he's going to be just fine. I think as the talent upgrades around him, he's only going to get better and better as well. But yeah, great win for Oklahoma for sure. Yeah, that defense is awesome. I mean, Brent Venables is one of, if not the best defensive mind in college football. He's right there. He has been for the last decade or more right there with the Sabans, the Kirbys, you name it. Like when you're talking defense in college football, it starts and ends right at the top with Brent Venables, 100%. Kirby Smart, names like that. So, no surprise what he's been able to do with the Oklahoma defense. And like you said, they just make it so tough, especially on young quarterbacks or guys that are going on the road the first time, or even guys that are experienced. Jalen Milroe had started it was in his second year starting at Alabama, and they made him, a guy that went in the third round of the NFL draft, and they made him look like he had hardly ever played quarterback before. So, they've done this before. They're going to do it again. And, yeah, the atmosphere I thought was awesome, man. Isn't it not amazing, though, getting these helmet games? We've already gotten several of them in the opening few weeks here of college football. You get Texas, Ohio State. You're getting Michigan. There's just nothing like primetime Saturday night freaking blue blood of college football versus blue blood of college football. It's can't beat it. And, man, we're getting some more this Saturday. It's going to be unbelievable.
Absolutely. All right, transitioning to week 3. We got some. This is season's hitting the road now. We're getting in the middle of the good stuff. We're starting the meat of the schedule. Conference plays getting in full swing. I know this isn't a conference game, but I want to get your thoughts. Wisconsin's returning the trip to Alabama from last season when Bama went up there. Bama righted the ship this week, obviously against a lesser opponent, but they did what they were expected to do. They did what a good club does to a team like ULM. So there was no questions about effort. Now, my only thing is, okay, well, are your guys going to play with effort and play hard when they know they can win the game, and they're going to not answer when they get punched in the mouth? Because Bama didn't get punched in the mouth this week. They got punched in the mouth week 1, didn't respond well. Never got punched in the mouth this week, so we didn't see how they responded. This week, are they going to go in the game playing like they did against ULM, or are they going to go in the game and when they get punched in the mouth, how are they going to respond like we saw against Florida State? What's it going to be this week? What are your expectations based off what you saw Saturday and what you're hearing?
Yeah, first off, the thoughts from Saturday, like you said, and I know, it is a lesser opponent in ULM, no doubt. You didn't face adversity in this game, and that's going to be the big question going forward is, are you going to be a bunch of front runners, or are you going to be able to respond when adversity hits? And that remains to be seen. But yeah, I mean, the energy was fantastic. I mean, they dominated about as much as you possibly could in a football game, regardless of who you're playing. I really loved what I saw. I mean, offensively, you start out 20 of 20 with both quarterbacks, running the ball, throwing the ball, physical up front, defense. Obviously, to worlds better this week, as you would expect. But the little things, though, I wanted to see, I saw. And I saw a lot of it. And even in these games, I don't care how good of a team you are. This was one thing encouraging to me, is even in these games, even some of Saban's teams, it's hard to sustain for 60 minutes against a team like this when you're up 50-0 in the second half,
Right.
60-0 in the second half. And I'll be honest, I did not see a bit of drop-off from snap one to the end of the game. So to me, that was super encouraging to see, like, regardless of opponent, score, or any of that stuff. That was something I wanted to see, and I definitely saw that. So that, to me, was a big encouraging sign. I'd like to think, I think the same thing's going to happen this week. I'd expect them to come out and play well. That's my expectation, at least. Kind of looking at this game, I don't think, and I've seen a little of Wisconsin yet. I haven't seen a ton, but I just don't think they've got the athletes to come into Bryant-Denny. It's going to be warmer on Saturday. It's 11 a.m. kickoff. Just don't think they're going to have the athletes to be able to match up with Alabama. Love what I saw from a lot of the young players, younger receivers, young running backs. Some young guys got a lot of run on the defense as well. So love what I saw from those guys. I just think there's going to be too many athletes on the field on Alabama's side. I think, like I said, the weather, coming south in September, I think it's going to be around 90 or above. It's going to be right in the middle of the daytime, so that should, not that Wisconsin's never played in a little heat before, but, you would think that would lean Alabama's way a little bit more. Personally, I think they come out and handle business, but like you highlighted, though, the real question is the next time you hit adversity, and you're gonna face that in Athens in a couple weeks. Like to me, that's the real test, and I'm by no means overlooking Wisconsin, because you got to come out and prove it on the field. But just from what I've seen a little bit of Wisconsin so far, they're just not super explosive. I just don't think they're going to have the offense to be able to hang with Alabama for 60 minutes. And, you look at Florida State schematically, but they had the athletes to be able to execute that. I just don't think Wisconsin has the athletes to be able to take advantage. If there's mismatches there, I just don't think they're going to have enough to take advantage of. Florida State obviously did. They had a schematic edge, and they had the athletes to be able to exploit that. I just don't think Wisconsin's going to have that. So I think Alabama will roll in this game, but I'm not getting overconfident until I see it, particularly on the road and when you face a little bit of adversity, and I think we'll learn a lot of how they perform in a couple weeks against Georgia.
Do you think Bama covers 20.5 this week?
I do, yeah. I'll lean to 20.5. I mean, it's not going to be as dominant as last week, and I don't even know how dominant it'll be, but I think they end up covering. That's just my gut feel. That may be the fan in me, but I just think I just don't think Wisconsin's going to have enough firepower, and schematically, I just don't think they're going to have those type of advantages you saw a team like Florida State have, or some other teams that have the athletes to be able to match you. I just don't think Wisconsin has that. I think we saw it a year ago, and I think if Alabama plays with the energy and effort they played with Saturday, could see a similar outcome this weekend.
And then you mentioned the Bulldogs. Bama's got to play them in a few weeks, but before that, Georgia's got to go into Neyland and take on Tennessee this weekend. Georgia is a 3.5-point favorite. There's some Georgia fans saying they're not super pleased with how they performed last week, against a lesser opponent. Tennessee is better than a lot of people expected going into the season. Didn't know what to think about Aguilar, and so far, again, not knockdown, drag-out caliber teams, but he's doing what he's supposed to do against the competition he's playing. He looks light years better than what they had last year in the quarterback position, in my opinion. So I think this is a tough game, but also Kirby's going to have his guys ready. I think this is the week that Tennessee finally, really gets for real tested, and we're going to find out what Aguilar's truly made of. 3.5 on the road. I think that's about right. I'm probably staying away from this game and the line anyway. I don't know what the over-under is right now. I'm probably staying away from this game. I think Georgia wins by probably a field goal, which, within Tennessee would cover. But I could see it going many different ways. But I'm looking more forward to this game than I was Michigan, Oklahoma this past week.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think, honestly, kind of looking at it, my gut wants to take Tennessee. The thing that gives me pause, though, and to me, the big matchup of the game is Georgia's had a little bit of time, had a little difficulty, even against lesser opponents these first 2 weeks of throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah.
They've had some breakdowns on the offensive line. Gunnar Stockton hasn't been as comfortable as you would hope to see. I think a lot of that is on the offensive line and him getting pressure in his face a little quicker than you would anticipate. The big matchup for me is, can Georgia shore that up against a good Tennessee front seven? Because we know Tennessee has weaknesses in the secondary. They have 2 starting corners out. Still out from these first 2 weeks. Going to be out again against Georgia. Can Georgia hold up front for them to be able to take advantage of that mismatch in the Tennessee secondary? That, to me, is the thing I'm most interested to see. I think Georgia's going to be able to hit enough of those to end up winning the game. But if it goes like it has the first 2 weeks and Tennessee's able to get pressure, that's going to help them hold up on the back end and limit explosive plays. And if that's the case, I think Tennessee's going to have a really great shot to win this game. My gut wants to pick Tennessee, but until I see it, man, it's hard to pull the trigger. I think Georgia does just enough to expose that. So I'm going to take Georgia, but I'm like you. I think it's real close, though. This is going to be a fantastic ball game, but that matchup is really what I'm most for.
The thing that makes me just so that makes me stay away from this game for sure is because this exact weekend last year was the weekend that Kentucky about pulled the upset against Georgia. Georgia, if they're going to get got, it's going to be early in the season. It's not going to be in the second half of the season. That's what holds me up on this because this Tennessee team is capable, but I think you're right. It definitely depends on if that offensive line can hold up and give Stockton some time to make some plays in the backfield. However, I can see it going either way, and that for that reason I'm staying away from it because I'm just not 100% sold on either one of these teams just yet, and we're going to find out a lot more, and I'll be a little more confident going forward in the season now that we're seeing teams get in the bigger games and the true, competitive matchups.
Yeah, and I think a few of times there's a few plays too where I think Gunner's just got to, I think he's got to trust what he's seeing and just let the ball go. And I think there's been just a little bit of hesitancy, not truly believing what he's seeing. And I think there's been some chances where he could have got the ball out and made a completion down the field, and maybe just a little bit of hesitancy, a little bit late in making those decisions. So that's definitely something in this game. I think he's going to have to show a little bit more confidence in letting it go, letting it fly, and trusting his eyes of what's there. But yeah, the offensive line's gonna need to do a better job of helping him out. And like I said, if they're able to take advantage of that mismatch, I think that's gonna bode well for them. But if it's maybe a little bit similar to what we've seen the first 2 weeks, the confidence is not quite there. Could see it going Tennessee's way. I'm like you. I'm not taking the line. I'm not betting it or anything. But if I have to make a pick, I'm going slightly Georgia. Just I just trust them. But like you said, if you're going to get them, it's usually earlier in the season rather than late. But Just feel like Tennessee's due against them, though. You know, they beat Alabama a couple times. They haven't beat Georgia in a while now. It's in Neyland. That atmosphere ought to be second to none. Yeah, just super, super excited to see this matchup. And like you said, I think we'll learn a lot more about both these squads.
All right, Arkansas is going to Ole Miss. I think this is a classic thing that we've seen in the past so many times, especially from a Lane Kiffin team where they go into a game and everybody bets them and then they let it get away. It's a tighter ball game and they don't cover. And then you turn around the next week, it's pretty much the same point spread, and you're like, oh, Ole Miss ain't going to cover this week. And then they turn around and they win by 3 touchdowns. I'm riding hard on Ole Miss minus 8.5 this week. I think that they're going to come in. I don't think that they're going to hurt themselves this week like they did against Kentucky this past week and give some drives away early like they did. I expect this Ole Miss team to be coming in firing on all cylinders. I think they're better than Arkansas straight up. So I like Ole Miss to win and win big this weekend against Arkansas, especially being at home, coming off a performance that you're not really proud of. So I expect Ole Miss to go in there, have some fireworks, and come away with a pretty secure victory this weekend.
Yeah, I like Ole Miss to win too. I mean, you make a great point. They lost to Kentucky a year ago at home. They just played them tough again. You know, very easily couldn't. You know, might not have went their way. They were able to go get a road win. And I think this year, you know, you have a chance to learn your lesson, but not take a loss doing it. So I'm like you. I do think they'll correct things. I think they cover. I don't know exactly what your score prediction be. I probably don't have them maybe as big as you do, but I do like them to cover. I think they win similar to last week. I don't think it'll be as sloppy. I think win by about 10, maybe 14. I think Arkansas with Taylor Green can give them some issues though with his mobility and had a couple of turnovers last week, so I want to see that cleaned up. But I think Taylor Green is going to keep them in it. But I'm like you though. I like Ole Miss to win. I probably lean them to cover as well, and I think they're going to bounce back. Not have as many turnovers and mistakes as they had a week ago, and be able to learn their lesson, but not take a loss doing it as well. And I think that'd be key for them to do that this year.
All right, Florida's going to Baton Rouge. You know, they like we just talked about earlier in the pod. They struggled this past week offensively. Had the things there, just couldn't take advantage of it. LSU didn't really dominate this past weekend the way people expected them to against La Tech. Still think they're a really good football team. We all saw in week 1 against Clemson. LSU is a 9.5-point favorite at home at night. We all know what Baton Rouge is at night. I'm not sure I'm going to jump on that 9.5. If I was to bet this game, it'd probably be on Florida's favor because I believe in Billy Napier. This Florida team is a good football team. Like I said, the proof's in the pudding. They are going to get better and better. We saw it last year. It's going to happen. They're not going to get worse. The outside noise is not going to be too much for this team. I'm going to take Florida plus 9.5. I think I am. I'm going to take Florida plus 9.5 in this game.
That would be my pick as well. I'm definitely going to look more into it as if I'm officially going to take it as a bet. But sitting here tonight, that would be my pick. I think it's going to be a close game. Like I think you look at it and I know people's thoughts, and I've thought this way a ton as well. You know, you go, man, you just lost at home to South Florida, and now you're going to Baton Rouge, and you're going to keep it close. Like, you know, in your mind you would think, man, yeah, LSU's going to beat them and beat them handily. Like that's what you would think, but my mind, I'm starting to think right the opposite now because I know how tough, I know how close these teams are in the SEC. Coming off a loss, I know Florida's going to be motivated to go prove people wrong and kind of right their wrongs from a week ago. I'm going to take LSU to win, but I think it's within a score. Like I think it's a one-score game. I'm going to lean I'm going with LSU because I do think they're the better team. I think they're playing better right now. It's in Death Valley, but I think Florida's going to come in there and play them extremely tough. But I like LSU. The way they're playing on both sides of the ball, I think they do enough against Florida's defense. I think Florida's gonna, like I said, hang in there though. I don't think LSU's gonna light up the scoreboard against them. But I don't trust Florida's offense enough at this moment to pick them to go in and win on the road. I don't think they've got enough. Or they're not executing enough at a high enough level right now for me to pick them to go into Baton Rouge and get an upset. But I like LSU by about a touchdown.
Hey, I like that. So that would put money in our pockets if that was the way it went. So I'm not opposed to that. But yeah, I think this game's going to be a lot closer. Like Ode to Lee Corso, this game's going to be closer than the experts think for sure. And then a team that we really, it may just be me, but I feel like we don't really know a whole lot about because of the teams that they've played. Texas A&M's going to Notre Dame. We know a little bit about Notre Dame. Saw them week 1 against Miami. Notre Dame's a 6.5-point favorite. I really don't know a whole lot about Texas A&M up to this point. What's your thoughts on A&M going in there? Do you think Marcel Reed's able to lead his team to a victory or at least cover?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was slightly surprised by this line. It was a little higher than I was expecting, to be honest with you. Seeing it at a touchdown, 6.5, 7 points. I think A&M covers. I think it's going to be a really close game. Obviously, it's two very good teams. I thought the line was 3 or 4 points too high in my opinion. So I think A&M's going to cover. Like you said, I just don't know. I know them from a roster standpoint. Seen them a little bit. Your first 2 weeks. They played against Utah State last week. 44-22. Nothing spectacular. 42-24 against UTSA in week 1. I feel like giving up maybe a few more points than you would expect from A&M against those opponents. But in my opinion, I think they've been looking for this game.
Yes.
Not that Mike Elko never has his team, not that he doesn't have his team prepared, but in that locker room, they're looking to get their get back against this Notre Dame team who came into College Station a year ago and beat them en route to go into the college football playoff. I'm torn as far as a game pick. I really don't know enough. I do think A&M keeps it within the number, but I feel like I don't know enough about each one to decide. We did see Notre Dame against Miami in a close loss there on the road, but I will say this: I do like A&M to keep it within the number. I think it's more like a field goal game.
I like it. I'm with you. I think if a team, I would pick A&M to win this game just because Notre Dame's offense didn't just, impress me a whole lot against Miami. And I think that Texas A&M's offense is probably a little further along than Notre Dame's offense is to this point. So I would pick Texas A&M to win outright if I was going to, but I'm definitely going to lay the line with plus 6.5. I think I'm with you. I think that's a little steep. Now, a game, we've talked about this team a little bit this podcast. Vandy's going to South Carolina. South Carolina hasn't really played as good as everybody expects. Still 2-0, but they haven't really met expectations from what the preseason talk was about them. I'm included in that. I was very high on them. I'm going to be honest. I'm taking South Carolina to cover this. They're a 5.5-point favorite. They're going to be ready for this team. Nobody's overlooking Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, like I just said, it's not your father's Vanderbilt football team. Shane Beamer's going to have this team ready. I like Shane Beamer a lot. Very high on him. We saw what he did last year. He's a lot like Napier. His team is going to get better week after week after week, no matter what. They're not going to be shocked by this Vanderbilt team. They're not going to get hit in the mouth and be like, what just happened? Who are we playing against? I thought we were playing against Vanderbilt, not Alabama. That's not what it's going to be like. They're going to be ready. They're going to be prepared. They're at home. This stadium is going to be rocking. I'm telling you, this is going to be a fantastic football game. It's going to be a fantastic environment. I like South Carolina to cover 5.5. And I'm going to be honest, I like South Carolina maybe by more than a touchdown.
Yeah. I like South Carolina to win as well. I don't really have a pick on the line. I do think South Carolina gets to win at home. But to me, this is kind of like the Georgia-Tennessee game in the aspect of I could see it going either way. I wouldn't be surprised. Just the way Vanderbilt's been playing, their confidence, been really, really impressive so far, better than I expected. I think a lot of people expected. I didn't expect them to go into Virginia Tech and tear them apart in the second half the way they did. I'm like you, though. I like South Carolina at home, at night. Should be an amazing atmosphere. So I like South Carolina. In a close game, I like South Carolina to win. I think Lenore Sellers makes some plays down the stretch. That's the difference. But obviously Diego Pavia's coming in. He's going to make some plays as well. I want to see Dylan Stewart, how he can get after him a little bit and affect things. We know he's, one of the biggest game wreckers in the SEC. So looking forward to that matchup. And no, this is going to be a great game. Man, Saturday night is loaded. Have all the TVs you can, have all the devices you can, because, just the last three we've covered, Florida, LSU, A&M, Notre Dame, South Carolina, Vandy, all on at night. You look at last week on paper was, again, you can't go off on paper, but on paper, that was probably one of the weaker Saturdays, supposedly. Yeah. Last Saturday was awesome, man. There were so many games going on, especially in that afternoon to evening window.
Yes.
Was outstanding, and had a couple bets in the morning window as well. I had Illinois Duke, and Illinois ended up pulling away in that one. All in all, it was a great Saturday, though. Like I said, on paper, probably one of the weaker ones. Man, we're getting into the heart of it now. Week 3, week 4, as you get into mid-season. Man, just so many great matchups. I can't wait. But yeah, I am gonna go with South Carolina here in the finale in the nightcap. They find a way to get.
It's been so dominant this year. I think that I'm not just necessarily saying that they're going to go out there and just score 50 points. I just don't see Vanderbilt's offense moving the ball a whole lot on this defense. From what we've seen, for sure, South Carolina's defense is the real deal.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I can't wait to see Dylan Stewart go up against this front and try to, get after Diego Pavia. He's a hard guy to hem up. He's a hard guy to bring down in the backfield with his mobility and his the ability to break you down and extend plays, make things happen. Extremely excited to see that. Man, going to be another fantastic weekend, no doubt about it. Can't wait to get around to it again. And man, we're getting to the heart of it now, and I don't know what more you could ask for, honestly.
Absolutely, we've been waiting on this week and in the future for so long, man. Since the national championship game ended last year, we've been waiting on week 3 and on. So
chaos is coming. There's no doubt about it. The SEC is going to be. It's going to be like a big game of bumper cars this year.
You're going to forget that South Florida beats Florida in week 2 by week 7 because so many other things are going to happen these coming weeks. You're going to forget about South Florida and Florida until you look back on the season. There are crazy things coming down the pipeline. I can't tell you exactly what they're going to be, but I know for a fact that crazy things are going to happen. So just get ready for it. It's arguably already off to one of the best college football seasons of all time, and I think that it's going to surpass itself and outdo itself this year. I really do.
No, I agree. I think it's last year on steroids, honestly. We've been talking about that all preseason. I think we've just got to the tip of the iceberg, honestly. I think there's so much more. Like you said, there's no telling what's going to happen over the next few weeks. I think the SEC is going to be it's going to be absolute war. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be like the last 2 laps at Talladega. If for those that get a racing reference, it's going to be 16 cars in a pack. Last lap at Talladega. There's going to be carnage. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be teams taking teams out you might not expect. Man, I can't wait to see it unfold, though. Appreciate all the love on the TikTok channel. It's been doing great. Appreciate all the comments over there. Views are doing great. Same thing on YouTube channel. We started posting shorts, some shorter clips of little excerpts of our podcast, different topics that we talk about. We've been posting those. Those have been getting a lot of traffic, a lot of comments, and we really appreciate that. Be sure to like and subscribe. We've had some subscribers over the last week or two, and we really appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting us. And, just looking forward to the weekend ahead and the season ahead. It's going to be unbelievable. And just appreciate you guys and looking forward to another great Saturday in the SEC.
Thank you, guys.